Before I begin the questioning, I want to thank Ms. Lofgren for assuming the chair in my absence. We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions. I will begin by recognizing myself for 5 minutes. I want to start with the zero-tolerance policy and its implementation. Chief Hastings, as part of our investigation and document request into zero tolerance, the Department of Homeland Security has given the committee documents which detail allegations of how Family Border Patrol did family separations. Among these documents, the department produced a chart of 850 complaints made to the DHS Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties reporting family separations between October 2017 and June 2018. These documents are startling. The records we received detail separations of 12 children aged 1 year old or younger and 124 children under the age of 5. Even more surprising, of the 12 children under the age of 1, 9 of those separations occurred before the Trump administration enacted its zero-tolerance policy. In many cases, family separations happened without warning and without giving the children a chance to say goodbye to their families. Many were not told where their families were being taken. For example, in May of 2018, a 14-year-old boy being held at the Rio Grande Valley Processing Center was, quote, separated from his father after a meal break while in custody and was told that his father would be deported, close quote. An 11-year-old was, quote, called aside by an officer and then he did not see his father again, close quote. Another child at only 7 years of age describes being separated from her father, quote, in the place where it was cold, unquote, and that she did not understand why she could not see or talk to her father. Chief Hastings, are these tactics how Border Patrol agents were told to implement the zero-tolerance policy?
Chairman, we sent over some documentation that you had asked the Secretary for prior, as far as the interim guidance that we follow currently for separations, and those are similar to what we followed before the zero-tolerance policy.
Are these tactics that I just outlined, actual cases, how Border Patrol agents were told to implement the zero-tolerance policy, yes or no?
I don't know what tactics you're referring to.
I just read them. Were you listening?
I was listening, sir.
So then answer the question.
Sir, I've given you what we follow as far as guidance for separation. 88% of those are criminals.
So I will take it that when we find the names of the people who did this, they will be disciplined for not following policy.
They were following policy to the best of my knowledge. I'm not hearing where
they did what I said.
Policy.
They were not following the policy that you just outlined.
I don't know the individual specifics in each
Border
one of
Patrol
those
agents instructed by your agency to trick children so they could take their mother or father away from them while they didn't know that was happening?
No.
Did Border Patrol receive any training on how to do this?
We have training about how family separation, and we've put out the guidance as you have seen.
If these reports are not an accurate description of how separations happened, can you please share how they did occur?
Again, I'm not specific to I don't know the specific issues that you're talking to about the 8.
Well, how were they supposed to occur?
Pardon me?
How were they supposed to occur? How were children supposed to be separated from their families?
So the mother and father are informed prior to the separation.
You didn't answer the question. How is it supposed to happen? The mother and father are informed and the kids, how is it supposed to happen? The mother and father is informed that at some point today, your kid is going to be taken away. In the middle of the night, someone comes and snatches the kid. I take it that's not what is supposed to happen. What is supposed to happen?
So we would inform the mother or father of the charges and the reason, and provide them the time to say goodbye to the child.
The charges and the reason and the time in advance?
Yes.
How far in advance?
It's going to vary depending upon the situation.
Vary from what? Hours, minutes, seconds?
I don't know what specific one you're talking to.
What's the minimum time?
Don't have a minimum time.
So it could be 10 minutes?
Could be.
If you were choosing to deport parents without their children, how can the Trump administration claim there was a plan to reunify?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear you.
If you were choosing to deport a parent without the children, how can the Trump administration claim there was a plan to reunify the family?
Because when we started this, we would place the A number and all of the information of the adult or the child on all of the paperwork so there could be reunification after The adult went through the appropriate legal action.
After the adult was deported, was the child supposed to be I'm sorry. After it was determined that the adult was being deported, was the child supposed to be returned to the parent before the deportation, or the parent is suddenly in some foreign country and the child is here?
It's probably a better question for HHS.
Who did the deportation?
We would do the deportation.
You would do the deportation while the child was in a different city in the United States?
We don't do the reunification, is my point, sir.
But you would do the deportation before the reunification without any knowledge of whether the parents are being reunified?
Yes.
So in other words, you're kidnapping the child.
Not kidnapping the child. We follow
characterize
the
it.
guidelines that are out.
Deporting a parent without their child is literal kidnapping. The documents produced to the committee also reveal that vulnerable children, such as those of tender age or those with disabilities, were not given special accommodations or consideration in these facilities. For example, CPP separated a deaf-mute child from his father. The DHS database was not updated to reflect the child's special needs and did not record that the child had been separated from his father. Another report described a 10-year-old with developmental delays who separated from his mother. No special effort was made to help him communicate with his parents. Chief Hastings, from these reports, it appears that Border Patrol placed little to no consideration into the physical and psychological needs of children when separating them from their family. In what ways, this is my last question because my time is over, did CBP consider the risks of these vulnerable children, of taking these vulnerable children from their parents and keeping them in CPP facilities? What special arrangements were made for children with these kinds of, who are deaf or mute or whatever?
So I'm not familiar with the two cases, but normally when we have incidents like that, we would alert HHS to the special needs.
You would alert HHS to the special needs before you gave the child to the...
Sir, we're a short-term hold facility. We're trying to get the children into the proper care as
Let me
quickly as
just
possible.
read one thing. Contrary to what you said, we have case reports here, and just one line. On May 16, 2018, after a meal break while in custody, she was told by officers that her father would be deported, and she didn't see him again. That's the way these things were done. It's inhuman and un-American. I yield back. The gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would help the witnesses to